afternoon. Welcome to the weekly livestock market update. I'm Brownfield Anchor reporter Meghan Grebner with us as always to talk all things markets. University of Missouri, Scott Brown. Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, Megan.
We are going to talk cold storage numbers today, a little livestock slaughter, and preview next week's reports. But to kick things off, let's recap what happened this week in the markets.
Yeah, Megan, this week on the cattle side, live-fed cattle were basically unchanged, up about 20 cents with the data we have. On the feeder cattle side, those feeder cattle auctions were anywhere from steady to $3 lower this week. We saw the October live cattle futures contract up about $2.15, and the September feeder cattle contract was up about $2.45. We also got gains this week in the choice box beef price. It was up $6.65. That puts it about $54 above where we were a year ago. And on the hog side, cash barrels and gilts were down $3.80 this week. We also lost on the future side. October lean hog futures contract was down about $2.20, and the pork cutout value was down about $6.20. Hams and bellies both lower this week on the pork side.
Talking about bellies in particular, they had a really, really rough Friday afternoon.
That's for sure. And, so you and I talk about this a little bit, but in fact, I think demand is so inelastic for bellies in particular. We get on that roller coaster ride way too often when we look at those belly prices, and good weeks and bad weeks as a result of some of that.
This was definitely a bad week. Scott, let's take a look at weekly slaughter numbers. How are those shaping up?
Yeah, so USDA told us for the week ending August 26th, so we're on a 626,000 head of cattle this week. That is up 10,000 head from last week, but down 52,000 head from where we were a year ago. We're on the hog side of 2.5 million head this week, Megan. That's up 86,000 head from last week and 88,000 head from where we were a year ago.
How did those numbers stack up year over year?
So when you look at the cattle side, down 4.2% in overall cattle slaughter year to date. Well, on the hog side of the equation, we're up 1.4% in terms of slaughter.
Cold storage, one of the big reports out this week. As we take a look at ending stocks, freezer stocks for beef, pork, and chicken, how did things stack up?
Yeah, if you look at those three and turkey on top, about 2.18 billion pounds, down 4.3% relative to last year. So overall, you have to look at this cold storage report and be a little bit optimistic in terms of what we see when we look at those overall numbers. So maybe we're getting in a better position as we go in through the rest of 2023.
Are we surprised, especially taking a look at the beef ending stocks in general?
Yes, I think we are. When we look at where we're at, so we've really traced the 2017 through 2021 level of beef ending stocks for all of this year, Megan, month over month. We did go up a little bit from June to July, but that's seasonally what's been happening. And the seasonal up we had this year is less than normal. And when you realize we had about 520 million pounds of beef in freezers a year ago, and today we sit at about 420. It just reminds you that we're perhaps in better shape now. We were very unseasonal like last year on the beef side and just hung around 520 million pounds almost every month of the year.
Let's take a look at livestock slaughter numbers. Walk me through those beef production totals for July.
Yeah, so 2.11 billion pounds of beef produced July of this year. That is 6.2% below where we were a year ago. And when you look at year-to-date beef production, it's down 4.3%. Why do we have record prices or near record prices? It all hinges on what we've been doing on the production side. When you look at cattle slaughter, down 6.4%, only because cattle dressed weights were up about 3 pounds did we trim a little bit of the decline in slaughter off of production. I guess, you and I spend a lot of time talking about beef cow slaughter, and it was down again this month. We slaughtered 260,000 head of beef cows. Last year at this time, we slaughtered 327,000 head of beef cows, but I'm not sure that decline is still enough for us to get too excited about the fact that we might be building the herd. I want to see more before I say too much more there.
There may be more months to go before we dig too far deep into that. As we talk about pork production, interesting taking a look at the slaughter and the hog weights as well.
Yeah, that's right. So overall pork production for July up 1.8%. That's 2.01 billion pounds of pork production for July of this year. Hog slaughter up 3.2%, while hog dressed weights were down 3 pounds or down 1.4%. So here's a case where weights being down actually help us in terms of pork production not being up so much. Overall pork production year to date up 1% is what we got out of the reports here as we look at the July numbers.
Scott, really, that's it for us this week. I want to talk a little drought conditions, hot weather conditions as well. When we look at a week plus of triple digits and well over triple digit heat indexes, what does this do in terms of thinking about feed availability and risk management for producers moving forward?
Yeah, so I like to say we're not out of the drought yet. When you look at the percentage of D1 or greater in the top 30 beef cow states, we've actually started to turn back up slightly, and we never got down to the longer run average. So I still say it's dry, yet I think there's some parts of the country where the cooler weather and lots of rain we might have gotten a few weeks ago has really greened things up, abnormally greened things up. But this week's been tough for a lot of places yet again. So it just reminds me to say, we haven't built hay supplies yet. We may get some good fall growth, but we'll see if we get a break from this intense high temperatures and high humidity in important beef cow states as we get further into this weekend. I will say I think it's still going to be a long winter to get enough hay in some places to carry cows through the winter. But at the same time, I will say we continue to probably likely see higher cattle prices. So figuring out how close cattlemen can stretch things is going to be important, as I think we stay with likely some higher cattle prices here for several months.
Looking ahead to next week, let's walk through and preview some of those reports.
Yeah, so USDA is going to give us their annual both U.S. and Canadian cattle and hog inventory numbers next week. We'll also get a shot of farm income, which I'm curious to see where we see USDA for 2023. Towards the end of the week, some demand side with the Restaurant Performance Index, and then finish the week with another jobs report.
All that sounds wonderful. We'll check in with you next Friday.
Sounds good, Megan.
Scott, have a great weekend. To have our weekly livestock market update delivered to your email box every Saturday morning, go to brownfieldagnews.com. You can also submit questions and comments. And for a rundown of what happens every day in the markets, make sure to check out John Perkins' Market Minute. Have a great weekend. I'm Meghan Grebner for Brownfield.